Hi, sorry it's been a while since my last video, but I'm trying to get back on track and hopefully do a few more videos for you. So this is a card that I designed and demonstrated back in October when the new annual catalogue came out. And there's a lot of things going on it because I wanted to really demonstrate a lot of the new things that we have in the catalogue. But I wanted to do a simplified down version using Sale-A-Bration products, and so that you can buy everything you need to make the card with £45 and then get the free stamp set. So this is the card that I came up with. It's using the Bloomin Marvelous stamp set, which looks like this. So it's got both some really nice images and some sentiments in it. So if you're new to card making and stamping and you want to get something to get started, then I'd recommend buying the products to make a simple card like this and then getting the stamp set for free when you spend £45. So I think the two things that I love most about this card is the excuse me, the interesting ways of using the decorative label punch to get a bit more out of your punch, and also the paper piercing around the outside. So we're going to get into the card and I'll show you how to do it. So I've got some Primrose petal cardstock, which I've cut down and folded into a standard size card, and I've got a strip of Birds of a Feather DSP, and I'm just going to snip a slit up the centre of the end of my DSP, and then I'm going to cut from the corner of the outside up to the centre of my slit on both sides at a diagonal, and that way you get a really nice even banner end. It saves cutting in from each side and finding that your banner is lopsided and you have to keep cutting in more or start again. So just, for me, it saves on cardstock waste. Right, I'm going to add some snail to the back of that, and pop that on the card. I've got the butterfly stamp and some raspberry ripple ink. Just going to ink up my stamp and stamp it on some scrap Whisper white cardstock. Oops, sorry, gone out of view a bit there. Right, so I've stamped it on the cardstock, and then I'm going to use the decorative label punch, which looks like this. If you haven't got any punches, this is one that I really love, and I'd really suggest getting, because I use it all the time and it's really great for adding a small image or a sentiment to a card. So I use my punches upside down so I can see exactly where I'm punching out. I'm going to position the butterfly right in the centre of my punched image and pop it out. And then I've got some of the raspberry ripple cardstock here, and we're going to do a couple of things with the decorative label punch just to get a bit more use out of it. You're going to slide it in about a third of the way and punch out this little end piece, and then again about a third of the way and punch out the end piece. And while we're at it, we need to punch out a couple of the longer pieces as well, and I cut just under a half of it. So you're going to put some snail on the back of your whisper white, and then place it over the top so that you've just got a little bit peeking out, and when you adhere them together they make a really nice little coloured frame. So if you ever need a little frame around one of your punches and you think, well, I haven't got a punch that's very slightly larger, just chop it up and try and stick it so that little bits come out on the sides. It's a great way to get a little bit more use out of a punch and stretch it a bit further. So that's done there now, and I have stamped on another piece of whisper white one of the sentiments from the set. I've done the little banner ends just so that it ties in with the rest of the card, and add some snail to the back of this card, and we're going to use the long pieces. Now the long pieces need a little bit of doctoring. We don't want these extra little lumps on the sides, so if you just cut in from the between the two scallops of the punch, and you just cut in on a diagonal just so that you don't have these little extra scallops. So you have, it goes from looking like this one here to looking like this one. And that's just because of the length of my piece of cardstock and my sentiment. The extra bit, it would just stick out too much. So, I mean, if you've got a longer sentiment, then by all means, the extra little scallops will look lovely on it. But for my purposes, I just wanted these one scallops. And I'm just going to pop it over the top so that my scallop is poking out like that. And there you go. Right, so now we're going to do some paper piercing. This is one of my new favourite ways of adding little details to a card without too much expense and without actually adding any more materials to a card. So I've got a paper piercing mat and my piece I want to pierce. I've got the paper piercer, and then I've got the Essentials paper piercing pack. So the paper piercing packs that you can buy from Stampin' Up, they're $7.25 and you get 3 sheets in each pack. This is the Essentials one, as I said, and it's got one that has straight lines on it, so you can pierce around the outside of your card. It's also got little curvy lines, so if you want to do a little scallop border on the side of your card, then it's got all them in a perfect scallop for you. And it's got circles, it's got the decorative nail punch and some other punches, so if you wanted to paper pierce a heart for Valentine's Day or something, then you can do that. And it's got some banners and butterfly and flower and some squares. So we're going to use a decorative label punch, and it's got a little outline of the punch on the mat, and you just place it over the top of your punched piece so that it matches up, and then you just pierce with the paper piercer into each hole. And when you've done that, then you should have a little paper pierced oval like that in the centre, so it just adds a little bit of extra decoration, especially if you've got a small image on your punch and you've got a lot of negative space around the outside. This just fills it up and breaks it up, but you're not actually having to use another punch, so it's definitely a good little cheap way to get a little bit more use out of it. And so we're going to use the straight lines now, and we're going to do a little pierced border around the outside of the card. So I've just lined it up along the edge of my cardstock so that it's centered, and then I'm just going to pierce all the way down on all 4 sides. So when it's finished piercing all the way around the outside, we're going to assemble the card. I'm going to pop a couple of the Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of my decorative label punch. Peel off the backings. Stick that on like that. Sentiment below. And then just to finish it off, I'm just going to add a rhinestone to the centre of the butterfly. This is something completely optional, but it's nice to have a little bit of bling on a card, isn't it? And there you go.